Good.
Good evening. It is Thursday, November 20th, 2025. This is the Wilmington, Connecticut Board of Finance regular meeting, and the meeting is called to order. We will not need to start with seating of alternates. We will move on to approval of minutes for October 16th, 2025. Anybody have any edits they would like made?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of October 16th, 2025.
Good, second. Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The abstentions? All right, unanimous. Now we will move on to nomination and election of Board of Finance officers. So we'll start with the chair position. And do we have any nominations?
I nominate Steph Summers for chair.
And I'll nominate Bruce Lawler for chair.
Yeah, I'm not going to accept that.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug. All right, do we have a second for Steph?
I'll second it.
All right. So, we can do a roll call on that.
Mr. Ross,
Yeah.
Miss,
Not voting for something.
right, Miss Mellows,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Abstain.
Miss Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
and
Building. Yes.
thank you. So it passes unanimously, other than your extension.
So. Take it away.
Nominations are open for vice chair. Do I hear any nominations for vice chair? Assuming I have a pen I can borrow.
I'll nominate Walt. If you want to do it.
Thank you.
I'll accept it.
Okay, any other nominations?
Need a second.
Yes, second. Do you have a second?
I'm not voting.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Is there a second for Walt?
Second for all.
Okay. Any discussion or shall we take a vote? All in favor for Walter to be the vice chair of the board? I guess let's do a roll call.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Miss Mellows,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Miss Summers.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
I know it isn't. Great. Let's see, are there nominations for secretary of the Board of Finance? Actually, I'd like to nominate Christina Miles.
I'll second that. If you accept.
I'll accept.
Okay, are there any other nominations? All right. All in favor for Christina Miles as secretary of the board? Please do the same.
Miss O'Neill.
Yes.
Oh, the other way, Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Miss Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Miss Mellows,
Abstain.
Mr. Ross.
Don't let
Yes.
your ego get in the way.
Motion passed.
Get someone waiting.
Oh, thank you. No.
Let's see them. I think, while we're at this, and congratulations, everyone. Well, first of all, do you think, well, I think it might be a good idea to talk about CIP since that is, my term expired. And I could either be on that on CIP or designate someone. Or, or then the board, I'd like the board's input on that and interest in that position.
Are you talking liaison? to the CIP? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's the Board of Finance representative on CIP. It's part of the way the Board of Finance, CIP is set up. Christina's on her term is up too, but she's on as a nominated person.
Yeah,
I mean,
community.
appointed person.
Appointed.
It's an appointed board that is, advisory to the selectmen, so it's a commission. I mean, it is kind of a commission. Yeah. So, is there any interest?
I'll do it if it's amenable to the group.
Thank you, Jason. Is there anyone else interested in that? Is there, I think it's fine if we talk about a consensus. I don't know that we need an official vote on something we're recommending to the selectmen to carry through on. I'd like to support Jason in that interest.
You'd be a good
Learn a
choice.
lot.
I'm fine with it.
Good. All right. You're appointed. Well, you're not appointed yet. You have to go before the selectmen, but we're recommending you. Okay. Present to speak. Anyone in our vast audience? Yes, Mr. McCoo. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. It's gonna be weird saying it out loud the first time. Mike McCoo for selectman. I just wanted to thank past board members, even the people who aren't here, who completed their time, and wish best of luck to current carrying over and new. Obviously, this was a very important job that's being done here, and by way of other comments that might be relevant to you tonight, I know there's been some distress about the switchover with the website, getting access to all the normal things we get access to. I just wanted to assure this board that everyone in this building during the day is working on that. We had a lengthy meeting today with the vendor, solved a lot of problems today on Zoom. And we have a dedicated customer service assistant from the company. And so we look forward to the website getting better by the day. We made 3 or 4 improvements just today on it. So we're finding things that didn't transition over, things like that, and we're making sure they get transitioned. And in the short term, if all else fails, if you're looking for a historical document or information and you're not finding it on the website, please call this building during the day and we will do whatever other way we can find to access it for you as we get through the transition. And here comes budget season, a bunch of other stuff, so buckle up.
That's a good segue. Anyone else present to speak, Donna? There's John Tien.
Hi, everybody. John Tien, Eldridge Mills Road. Just wanted to say thank you to all the departing members for your service, and welcome to the new members. Looking forward to the next couple of years of trying to get some stuff accomplished here in town for the betterment of everybody. So congratulations to the new officers and best of luck.
Thank you. Jim Marshall.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Excellent. Calling from the Hall School gym at a basketball practice. Jim Marshall, Fisher Hill Road. I just wanted to speak up and say thanks to staff. We weren't able to hold our CIP meeting most recently because of technical issues with the Zoom account. But I just wanted to say thank you to staff for, what was it, 9 years, I think,
Yes.
serving on CIP. And we all greatly appreciate your time and your insight. And I guess welcome to Jason as that process moves forward as the incoming delegate from the Board of Finance. So looking forward to it. And thanks again, Steph. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Some might call that a sentence. I don't know, 9 years. Anyone else for present to speak? There's another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Then we'll go on to new business, but before we do that, I'd like for the people who are new on the board to say a couple of words about themselves, and also, did Eric know about the meeting tonight?
I take it he got the agenda.
Okay.
I had talked to
sent
him
it
a
to him?
couple of weeks ago and told him he needed to go down and get sworn in prior to this meeting. So he
Okay.
didn't know there was a meeting.
Yeah, then I think he's probably been sworn in, I don't know.
I'll reach out to him.
Okay, thanks. And maybe if you do talk to him, ask him to sign up for town email, because that's the easiest way to get to me.
Okay.
He can. We can see if he has an email he can share, we can do that in the interim. So is Steve Ossier on the line there? Steve, are you there and up for your, oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm having issues with my camera on my laptop, so I switched over to a phone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, before you do that, I kind of wanted to hear from Bill Bennell and Lori as new members. If you guys want to say
No problem.
about yourself and your background and, being on the board, congratulations for being here. Yeah, go ahead.
Take this off. I was previously on the board of finance, so I feel like I understand what's happening. And I've served on various boards in town for about 20 years, so I'm happy to be involved again as an alternate. And I've lived in town for 42 years.
And you were the treasurer.
I was the treasurer for almost 4 years, yes. I didn't forget about it, but.
You blocked it. Bill?
Hi, I'm Bill Bennell, Red Oak Hill Road. I've been in town a while, maybe a sentence, 47 years. And I've been getting more and more involved in boards in the town and taking an interest in trying to provide service.
Yeah, you're on several, aren't you?
Yeah. 4.
Work on that. Okay, thanks, everybody. Steve, do you want to describe the situation and the documents you sent us and everything?
Yeah, so can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so the good news was, and I think Donna had sent an email over, I think Bruce had a copy of it. The computer project was under budget by $1,367. That actually did go up by several $100s. We got a credit from Tab and we're reissuing the check, so it's closer to $1,800, north of $1,800 saved from the project, some labor savings. However, in the inverse, our retaining wall project, when it was put out to bid, apparently there was not contingency like there was for the computer project, so a change order was required for the work to be completed at the most labor-intensive part of the retaining wall project near the community room doors, and that amounted to about $1,000. So I think Donna had sent over a request or a consideration to transfer money from the computers into another project, another line item for the retaining walls to cover that cost overage for the project.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Steve or discussion about the situation? Do you have anything to say about the ARPA project as the former ARPA chair?
I don't think so. I'm glad it came in under budget, and I think this makes sense to do. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Don, is there an order for these motions or for the suggested?
The motion is on its own page. So you mean like order for 2?
Yeah, do you want, in order to do them, do we do the retaining wall
Oh,
project transfer first?
whatever your pleasure is.
Okay. Would anyone like to move that from the document?
I'll do it.
Okay.
So I move that we transfer $1,000 from line 03.3096 library computers to 03.3097 library retaining wall.
Second, oh,
You're good.
second,
I'm sorry, who's the second?
okay, any discussion further? Okay, seeing none, let's take a vote. I don't know if we need to do this one hybrid. Do we, everyone's here? I think we could just do it in a room. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. Then, is anyone here to talk about the other, the window? Right?
That's all about it.
I'm here to talk about it.
We're so glad.
This is Old Town Hall.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. I came here early to go up and get this all off of my desk, but early turned out to actually be on time, so I didn't make it upstairs. It's early for me. Okay, so I'll shorten it even from what's on here. Basically, the two projects at the Old Town Hall are from a steep grant, which was the septic system and the window restoration and replacement. Septic system is complete. But the application originally was in 2022. There were delays between the engineering for the septic system, some property rights that had to be resolved because of crossing the road and because of the Ecclesiastic Society approvals to put the septic system into the town green area. So things moved slowly to get the projects done. And there was a 1-year extension on the steep grant to make all of this work. The last piece to put into place was the contract for the windows, which was signed in November of 2024. And was expected to be done over the winter into the spring. Now here we are at the next winter, it's not done, we're having problems with the contractor. And we've passed the end of the grant. And we had a 6-month buffer at the end of the grant, which ends on November 30th. And that buffer is only for submitting bills, not for extending the grant. So we're in a jam now because we can't get any response from the company. And we're in the process of potentially calling the bond, the performance bond. And in the meantime, there's a question as to whether we will lose $18,000 of the grant money, which is the remaining cost of the project. What Donna and I and other people have suggested is the best course of action is to put some contingency money in place dedicated to the project. So that if we can reasonably complete the project, we have the right assurances from the contractor or have to use a different contractor to finish it. We have money set to do it while we work out if we can still get the grant money. Also, while we find out if we can possibly get our money back through the bond process, which we do not yet know, we're working on, or potentially get some kind of settlement back from the contractor. So we have a few different ways this could resolve. The least desirable is that we have to take it out of taxpayer money because it was supposed to be a grant. The grant, of course, has paid for the majority of the work, paid for the septic system and paid for the work to date on the windows. So this last $18,000 is what's in question. And so Donna looked at some ideas for how we could set that money aside into this project to have it available so that we can write checks if we can get the project straightened out. And again, the goal is that it would not come out of tax money. We would hope it's going to come out of either the bond or some sort of settlement with the contractor, but we just don't know that yet.
how much did you say was already spent on this project under the grant?
Well, it's $125,000 grant total. So we're at about 106 something expended, and that work was received. So it was expended for the correct work.
And how much work have they done on the windows? What's been done?
Some. And part of the problem is the windows that have been installed, were installed and a mess was left. So Public Works cleaned up the mess. That's not a big cost issue. It just was like a workmanship issue. The windows still need to be cleaned. The windows that were installed covered with all the handprints from the workers who put the windows together. And the contractor didn't come back and prep them and clean them and straighten everything up. And then just sort of disappeared. And there are a few windows that haven't come back yet.
And were
They are-
they paid like a third or something?
They were paid portions. I don't know exactly the portioning, I don't remember exactly how it was portioned.
Like progress billing.
Right, yeah.
And yes, so what they completed, we've paid for.
Right, so Troy was, as they got to a next amount, like
Yes.
a window's done, Troy was confirming the work was done, and then
Yes.
we were paying bills.
Okay.
But because it's got so slow, we've run past the end of the grant period, which is the big
Mhm.
problem.
Okay,
You, Walt has a question.
So how long before this, you think you're gonna have an answer from the state, whether they're still gonna?
Well, Donna had spent the last 4 weeks probably trying to get someone from the state to answer her, and nobody was returning phone calls or emails, 3 different people. And so today we got, Timmy Nuccio's office involved.
Yeah.
I was gonna
And,
say, that's, Tony was good, I'm
it took-
the go-to guy, but.
it took, maybe 2 hours at the most. And all of a sudden we got an email from one of the people who has been on all of the emails and had not answered them. And said that the other 2 people are not currently working, but apparently they haven't sat out of office on their emails. So we had no idea, they just weren't responding, but they're not at work.
No.
So there's a whole issue there at the state group that we're dealing with about, and that's making it difficult for us to get answers on, can we extend, can we get some grace period? What do we do next? Will they help us since it's their grant on settling it with the contractor?
So why do we have to preempt it? Why wouldn't we just wait for an answer, then get together with us and appropriate the money at that time?
There's a very good reason.
Okay,
The reason is, one of the bills was paid after May 31st, which is the date the grant ended.
okay.
And so it was coded to the grant line item. So we are now not in compliance with the grant because we have a payment there that's after the grant period.
Okay,
So that's going to need to be moved to this contingency line. And then we'll be in good standing with the auditor and we'll be in compliance with the grant.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there legal that we are lined up to have to provide to resolve all this? Or I'm not sure what calling the bond does exactly. Can you?
So that we're still trying to determine what is going to be there's a conversation that circles around multiple different things. What will the bond company cover? And of course, the first thing the bond company does is they call the contractor and say, how come you haven't performed and now we have to pay? And so there's that process, and then circular with that is getting some answers from the grant people about what they will either fight for or support or allow. Because the bond company doesn't want to pay if the grant people are gonna come through and pay it. And then, of course, the town attorney to review these things. And then we have the complexity with the auditor, because the auditor rightfully so pointed out that we wrote a check that was intended because it's a reimbursement grant, we wrote a check that was intended to go against future reimbursement, and now the state isn't sending the reimbursement at the moment. So it's almost like there's no money, even though there was money for the check. It's almost like there's no money because for accounting reasons, that backfill is missing.
Okay.
So it's a whole bunch of things in one circle until we find out what the answer is gonna be.
I heard something about the windows in the old town hall were nailed shut. Is that correct?
When they installed them, they were supposed to install them so they could be slid up and down. They're not restoring the weights and the pulleys and the ropes and all that because it was too much money. But what was requested in the original plan was to install the windows so they would still slide in the casements, which would allow, if the weather required it, the right amount of people to lift the very heavy sashes, open them a little bit and block them open. Because they were not restoring the ropes and pulleys, one of the installers just assumed they should be nailed shut. They put the sash in, siliconed it and nailed it shut, thinking it was fixed in place. That's fairly minor to resolve. The biggest thing is, A, the work isn't finished.
Yeah.
And B, some of the windows, which are, you know, you can say they're historical, they're part of the old town hall, haven't come back yet. So we don't physically have the windows that belong to us.
Are there other comments or questions from Mike about this? I mean, he's kind of, you kind of got this hot baton past you.
I've been preparing for this all day.
And it's also the most visible building in our property.
Yeah, it's
And
more than just the dollars.
Right.
It's a, you know.
It's a sentimental,
It's a, yeah, it's a sentimental, it's an important building to the
especially leading
townspeople.
to our 300th.
Mhm.
Mike, you might need to get the town attorney involved too. If
Yes.
they're not returning property,
Yes, the
then
town,
we need to
the,
get a letter.
I have a
that
call
says-
into the town attorney, but I couldn't do that until Donna and I had talked today and got a whole bunch of information together,
Yeah,
so.
I'd like to move that we move 15,000 from 0861 Board of F contingency, 1,000 from 0182 Town Hall operations, plus 2,865 from 0181 Town Office operations, totaling 18,865 to 004 transfers out to capital project account number 03.1.3098. Old Town Hall windows.
Second.
Thank you.
So can I add a comment? now that-
Sure.
Obviously, and I wanna reinforce that if we don't need to spend this for this, we won't. This is only to have it so that we can show there's money behind the checks that were written. If we can settle it some other way, which I will fight very hard for, Donna has been fighting for weeks, we will.
Understood.
We will replace it with someone else's funds instead of taxpayers' funds.
You know, we don't need questions about our own ability to meet our obligations, so, but.
can I ask a question? So the 15,000 Board of Finance contingency, that's our whole contingency, right?
Yes,
Okay.
This is last year's budget, 24-25. That we closed, you know,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, that's the whole contingency. Yes,
Yeah, okay, and then the town hall operations, we can afford $1,000 from there.
yes, they had $1,000 not spent in the maintenance line
Okay, and then the
last year,
town office operations had that much left over?
left over.
Okay,
I'll make a comment. I consider fixing those sash weights the right way. You know, those old windows like that, that's dangerous with a big plate glass window. That's very dangerous. I remember like 40 years ago when I was a kid, we owned a house with the old ropes rot, sash weights dropped down, but they sold like jack chain to redo them. You know, it wasn't that big a deal. Maybe somebody else should take a look.
I would love, and I know the historical society would love to see that additional part done, but
But yeah, it's a safety thing too with that type of window.
well, it's so heavy.
Yeah, you gotta counterbalance the weight of the
you would
window.
need-
Yeah.
You would need a lot, you would need probably a couple people to even lift it as it is.
Yeah.
just, it
And-
definitely
yeah.
sounds like an accident.
I
waiting
found
to
out
happen.
about, I literally found out about this part of it today, so this is all new information to me.
Were you gonna say something?
well, I just was gonna ask too, if are those windows considered an egress point that
They're not escape windows.
they're not?
No.
But because it's a public building.
No, because you
people
have main exit out the doors and you have an exit to the rear through the
The
back
handicap.
behind the stage.
might- Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Happy third day on the job, Mike. Yeah.
It was similar to the first two.
So how many windows have been installed so far?
I don't remember, I knew, but I don't remember.
To most of them or just a
I
couple?
think it's just over half.
I mean, if there's gonna be consideration of putting in new sash cords, I would hold off on installing any more windows, because that's only gonna add to the expense.
Yeah.
Because they'd have to take window stops out again.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't call it good news, but it doesn't seem like the new sashes are arriving tomorrow, so we may have time to figure that out.
From the, front or the side by the road, there's only one or two that don't have windows in them. But maybe around the other side, I haven't seen that other side, maybe that's where some of them are missing.
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. Brian
And I'm not
referred
gonna drive by on the way home, I'm just gonna.
to, Brian referred to it as Wellington's crack house while all the windows were boarded up.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Let's take a vote then. Is this something that would require a roll call vote since it's got a little legal overlay to it, do you think? Does it help to do that?
If I might suggest, if you call, since you're not voting from hybrid, if you call the vote and there is not unanimous, then you should go to roll call.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, all in favor of the motion as stated, moving from 3 different accounts, 18,865 to the transfers out capital project for this. Please say aye. Aye. Or nay. Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so the meeting calendars, the ones that I've seen, are there any in the packet that are updated or not? Okay, so this is a little tricky because I think people didn't really get these, the people who are new on the board. And also, frankly, they're not super helpful because they give you a sort of skeleton, but that it's all 2025. So like I was looking at it, but I did kind of wonder if you guys, well, first, just to talk about the calendar a little bit. It seemed like we got really late last year and last budget season, and that we came up to having to kind of struggle. I think finance had to struggle and everybody did to get the legal notices published and everything else once the Board of Finance actually finished appropriations. And most of those appropriations were done on the last night, the extra night that we have built into the calendar, the sort of spillover night. So I'm wondering if it makes sense to start the presentations a week early, if that might work. It does move up. The first people who would be affected are usually the ones that have, pretty much have their budgets are pretty specific. It's like the registrars and conservation and the, some of those special categories that are in the first week. That would be, that presentation date would be, instead of February 5th, it would be January 29th. So there's that extra week in January too, so extra Thursday anyway. So I'm wondering what you all might think about that. It just gives us a little breather on the other end. I think we also had a little bit of, compact time frame for getting to town meeting, getting to the, the budget hearing and then the town meeting in good stead, given the legal notice publication and some of the other stuff. So I'm just thinking, does it make sense to do that? I realize it adds another week for Board of Finance, and it will affect the budget presentation dates, but we hopefully would get the advisory and everything out to people soon enough that people could have about the same amount of time. Mike?
I would, from the selectman's office, I would strongly recommend that you do push it earlier for two reasons. One, if you need spillover time, it gives you a little buffer. And two, the requirements to get things into the newspaper are gonna be actually harder to accomplish this year because the Chronicle does not publish 6 days a week anymore.
Right.
They're down to 5 days a week. So the crunch time that we always end up in of trying to get enough time in between the various meetings and the notices is gonna be worsened by losing a publication day on the Chronicle.
Is that Tuesday through Saturday, or what are those?
It's Tuesday through Saturday now.
Yeah. Okay, that's good information, thanks.
And it would not necessarily add an extra day to your calendar. It would shift it all 1 week early. If you need the extra day, you add the day, but
Yeah, like it would, I mean, the referendum day, I believe, is May 5th. Is that what sticks out in your head for
Yes.
2026? And that's of course in register with the Region 19 vote. So that's kind of a hard and fast date for the 3 towns. And that would make the annual town meeting on the 22nd of April. The budget hearing would be on the, I think it would be on the 2nd of April. Or it could actually wait, there could be time in there. Instead of being the 2nd, it could be the 9th, which would make it easier for that meeting preparation. I don't know, Donna, your feedback's important because of the financial office getting everything lined up for like the annual town meeting and then go from there. So, but what do people think? Does it make sense, or do you feel like that's too early? I mean, it definitely is contingent on letting the budgeters know in enough time that they still have ample time to do it. We have some new department heads who will be budgeting and, that kind of thing, so.
I
Thoughts?
don't mind doing it early.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And then we have that built-in buffer instead of trying to scramble to find extra time.
I think we're gonna need to see, Donna, the date, the actual dates, because, what that would do. We could sort of work on it if you want. To show people an actual layout of what those dates are. But of course, they're all on Thursdays pretty much, except for last year we did the budget hearing on a Wednesday. So I don't know if we want to carry that through or why we did that. There was a reason, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was publication dates that we were so tight, we had to, but I'm not sure. And then the town meeting, I think, would be on a Tuesday, I believe. No, it's on a Wednesday too. It's on a Wednesday too. Yeah. So it's okay to leave them on Wednesdays unless there are other objections. Okay, so maybe we work on that and get that out to the committee members so you guys can see and review that. Because this is kind of hard to figure out with last year's dates, this year's dates, whatever you want to say.
They're only off by a day, usually the day.
In most cases, except for if you do move it up early, then all of them change, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as who's being discussed, but as far as the dates, it's just the day before.
Right, except we need to figure out where that extra time goes at the end of the game, so, yeah, it's a little different. Okay. So, and then, I don't know, the meeting dates are all third Thursday, so I think those are also 2025 dates, so we'll need to, they're on this consolidated calendar, but we'll also get you those so that you can really see, but if you wanna look at it in your calendar, it's the third Thursday, pretty much. I don't think there's anything like Christmas falling on the third Thursday or anything like that, so. We can talk a little bit about the budgetary letter, the advice letter. Is that good? Are people ready to move on?
Mhm.
Probably more than ready. Okay, so do you guys have a copy of it or? Okay, this is the budgetary letter. Okay, I think Bruce sent it, well, it was Donna's material, and it was just the 2025 letter, but I think we maybe, I kinda hate to move it to discuss at the next meeting, because then we're in the third week of, December. But we could, I mean, I don't know, is January 1 a good enough start date or, date to get it out? Is that good enough? I don't think people wanna think about it over the holidays too much, do you?
Except that if we're bumping things up a week.
I know, that's what I thought. But that's tricky because we don't really have a scheduled meeting, and I don't know that we can have a special meeting, but I don't know if that's called for. What do people think about that?
We could do a special meeting.
Wanna do
What's
that?
the date of your December meeting? What's the third Thursday?
The third Thursday is,
If we come in just for this, for a special meeting, we can do it very quick.
yeah, I think we could too,
Regular
and
meeting
then,
is the 18th.
Yeah,
and then we could also maybe pass the calendar at that same special meeting or something. That makes sense.
So if your regular meeting is 2 weeks before the end of the month, which is good, it falls a little bit earlier in the month.
Mhm.
And then because of the way January plays out, that first meeting you're talking about for budget calendar would be late in January, right? So you'd have 5 weeks in between, which is not.
The first presentation date would be January 29th.
Right, so that's 5 weeks. I think that's reasonable for those people, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So you would agree on your calendars and your letter and then send it all out.
Mhm.
So that way people will see on the calendar when they're due up and whatever instructions or guidance comes from the letter.
Mhm.
And I think 5 weeks is reasonable.
Okay, well, one of the things, I mean, I think, let's talk about the letter a little bit, because I think there might be some ways to both give people a slightly better idea of what we're looking for, and also maybe talk to them about the experience last year a little or something. I mean, there's definitely some room for maybe in that top, instead of saying, again, we're gonna do budgets, we might just say something about what this budget year is gonna involve. I mean, one of the things is we're leading, it's 26-27, so that's our 300th. That's something that may affect some budgets, because some of the visitors may feel like they want to do something a little differently or extra, or that is related to the tricentennial. And it is a big deal, but that doesn't mean that we have a lot of resources to do that with yet. But, it's definitely something that some people may want to prioritize over something else for this particular year. So every budget year is different. We won't have a reval, but if we might want to put that context in, that we will have a reval in a shorter span. It'll be 4 years instead of the 5 years. So, that'll feel faster upon. Is there anyone who wants to discuss the letter and just kind of what I know that's, here. Let me show you. Do you have it fresh in mind? You don't? Okay. Well, then maybe we don't talk about the details of the letter. It's kind of crazy to do that if people don't have it.
I don't.
But do you want to just free flow some thoughts about what you think is good? I mean, everyone around the table has some experience on budgeting or being on the Board of Finance or, whatever. And I'm just wondering if anyone has anything that they'd like to see us do in the letter. Preferably keeping it to a page if we can, because that's always easier to read, right?
There's some from last year's letter, I think there's, a lot of good information in this letter, but maybe some tweaks. If we are able to look at this for the next meeting in December, we should be able to finalize it then. I would think that this is a good base, but as you said, there may be things we want to tweak or.
One thing I like, I'm kind of like fumbling to find mine, I think it was right here somewhere. One thing I did like in that letter was, oh yeah, here. I like the part, it's kind of in the middle and has 3 bullet points.
Yeah.
Other than large dollar accounts that are usually discussed at length, the line items that will draw attention are: 1, accounts whose balances are projected forward into the new budget, even though there has been no activity in that account during the current year. We see that in our budgeting,
It's just a
you know.
line item with like.
Well, and if you didn't spend any in it, at least have that in your narrative for an
Yeah,
explanation.
there may be a reason.
There may
for
be
it,
a reason, but,
explain it, yeah.
and 2, accounts that are just indexed up by an unsupported percentage amount. Like, oh, is this the going rate, or we're just kicking it up 5% or whatever. 3 is accounts titled miscellaneous, where the expenses that run through them cannot be explained and the amount can be perceived as a contingency. So that's also kind of, I mean, if we're looking to tighten, those are areas that we go to as well, we should, I think. But it gives people the knowledge that those are gonna be red flagged probably in the budget process.
Yeah, I mean, it would make more sense if you anticipate that a certain area might be a little higher to actually put that in that line item and say, this is why that might be higher, rather than a miscellaneous that, who
Yeah,
knows, what that's
right.
for, yeah.
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 Did you have something, Kristen?
Well, I think we need to address the fact that we went to referendum 3 times, right? We don't want to do that again. So I think we don't want to tell people, cut your budgets by X% or whatever, because we don't know, nobody knows until the soup gets made, what it all is, but I think just letting people know that that's not our goal this year. But just as a starting point, that we're gonna try to avoid that, so.
So we'll just have something in the letter about.
Yeah, and then I also think that we should start now thinking that we're going to be trying to educate and bring the public along with us in this process and get people involved. And I think the way to do that is to just explain to people now, that the budget submitters, that we're gonna be looking for a lot of input, and that they're gonna need to justify what they're asking for, and to highlight the things that are either impacting it in a good way or a bad way, so that we're gonna be able to then communicate that very clearly to the public when the time comes to defend whatever this budget ends up being.
I think it's good for budgeters to sort of identify, say that, the rule of 3, which always kind of works. The 3 key initiatives they see in their budget year ahead, the things that they want to work on, the place where they see like a real shortage that they need to shore up or do something with, or a project that they have this year that they don't normally have, something like that. What's driving their budget or their thinking about their budget? Kind of real quick bullet points to let us in on the, like with the library, it could be something that's going on with their building, or, whatever, or could be programming or grants they're trying to apply for, or money they lost because they couldn't get grants, that kind of thing.
So will you have a draft of this letter for next?
Yeah, I'll work on it. Yeah, for the special meeting, and get something out to you guys.
What special meeting? Don't we have? a
We
meeting
have to do it, well,
in
we,
December?
no, I thought we talked about doing the,
Just
didn't we
regular
just talk about doing
Yeah.
a special
Regular-
meeting? Did I
No,
read
Doing a
that?
special
No, I thought
meeting
the-
just for the,
In between,
in between this meeting and the next meeting.
Oh, I thought you were
to
talking about
hammer out
January,
the-
okay.
Or you could just, as we talked, as I said, you could use the 18th because it gives you 5 weeks.
Yeah,
18th
we
falls
could do
fairly
that.
early.
we could just do it in the December meeting, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Okey dokey, cause, you know,
We
you
probably
guys have
anything else.
lively
This time of
lives,
year,
right?
we don't have a lot of other things happening, once we get into the budget, obviously we do.
Yeah,
You know, affordability is gonna be a big concern with the voters again. You see it all over the country, it's all over the news all the time. Look at New York City, you know, like with the results there and everything, it's gonna be on people's minds. So people need to be careful and put their budgets together and be
Mhm.
mindful of that.
yeah,
Because, you know, we can do all this hard work and it gets voted down, and it doesn't feel good, and that happens.
Steph, another factor that will not be beneficial this year, in this coming budget season is the legislative session in the spring starts much later than it did in 2025. 2025 was the longer year because it's the odd year, the biennial budget and all that stuff.
yeah,
So the legislative session doesn't even start until, the first week of February. So as we may remember, that sometimes throws monkey wrenches into the works for us as a town, trying to plan a budget because we don't have answers yet on maybe some cost sharing or road funds or various other items that get beat up in the legislature.
and when does it close, when does the session close, do you know? We need to look at that, cause that
Yeah,
can
this
really
year was the
rub up
long one, it
against-
went January to July, I think, so this coming year will be the short one, it's like I don't remember when it ends.
Yeah, okay,
But it's definitely shorter. So that's gonna be a factor possibly, if we hear from our legislative people that there are things that will affect the town's revenue side,
Mhm.
that may be an effect on it, that may come late in the budget process. But we do have very strong communications this year with, many of those offices. And we have, some new legislative people in, like our state association and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll get good information. And then the other thing will be from the first selectman's office, I'll be working on wanting to work with the Board of Finance in putting together that presentation, the package of the budget. So as you said, the better explanation that you have from the budget submitters as to why certain things are moving, the easier it will be for us to put a package together, a presentation that explains what's happening with the budget.
The legislative session ends May 6th.
May 6th, okay. So it's a month short on the beginning and it's 2 months short.
that's the day after the, budget referendum, yeah. Okay, well, that's helpful. Cause last time they went to the 11th hour on releasing the ECS money.
Right.
So, okay, and that was, of course, the first referendum, so they released it after the second, was it between the second and the third, Donna?
Remember that?
That's what I'm thinking, cause I remember when we were having the hearing, you had just gotten a note that day that we were getting that. And that was in advance of the third referendum, so that was pretty damn late, wasn't it? Anyway, I just wanted to talk about, the revenue side for a while, because there's that which I'm hoping we could maybe apply some pressure or interest in getting, a more expeditious idea of when ECS money is coming through, when and if. Because that's really something that we used to pretty much be able to budget and count on. So to have it be a question mark is really hard for towns, especially our size. It's hard for all the towns. But we had last session was kind of last budgeting session for us was sort of a perfect storm of, horrible events. Like there was of course the reval, and then we had we had high outplacements in the Board of Ed budget. But we, it was even more than that. The building fees revenue sort of dried up. The interest rates were down. The valuation of cars completely changed on the state level. Good for the consumer because the values are reduced significantly for pretty much everybody unless you're buying a new car, and of course, your taxes are gonna go up if you buy a brand new car. But that hit our grand list quite a bit. The thing that we all probably favor individually, the full forgiveness of property taxes for 100% disabled vets. Took 9 or 10 houses off our grand list, I believe it was. So, do you remember, Donna? I know it was 9 at one point, but I think another one fell into that. And, it's a good program that people agree with. That was something else the state passed that was, but it still affected us financially in a twister of a year. So those are the things, what we're seeing at this farm, building fees had kind of dried up on the new truck stop.
And the interest rates were much lower.
Yeah,
Lots of factors.
Yes, definitely that. And this year, I think just a couple of things I just want to put up, so that you can kind of mull and think and add to the list. The state had capped property tax on cars before, what the mill rate could be. That was lower than our real estate property tax mill rate before the reval. So that money, the state augments the difference, but it's a year behind. So this year we will get that money that's between what was it? The difference between the two. One is 32 point something and the other mill rate was 38, 39.
There was a few mills between.
Yeah, so the state gives the towns back or augments that money because of that cap. But we probably won't have that cap situation, but for the foreseeable, we won't, for now, we will not have 2 mill rates, one for the cars and one for the property tax. So we won't be getting that extra state makeup money after this year. Isn't that right, Donna? Okay. And then interest rates, are better. In fact, we budgeted 147,000 in interest income in this budget, 25-26. We've got about half of that after 4 months into the year so far, but that's not something you ever want to really fall short of. So I think, we don't know what the rest of the year is going to hold. So we have, I think, the 4th month, we have like 65,000 in there. I don't know if there'll be new building fees or new activity. That's a question mark. The 300th, we talked about a minute before. That's something that will have an impact on budgets this year, I think. And then another issue that I see is what happens with the state election, early voting laws and how that plays out because, this was sort of, I won't say it was an experimental year, it was kind of a full-on year, but I don't know how much it's being tweaked by the Secretary of State and company. I do know that the registrars worked back to back 14 days straight for early voting, and they are paid by fee or stipend, whatever, flat fee. That is a lot of extra work that has never been in their jobs before. So I think as that wrinkles out, we have to really revisit what those fees are on a fairness level. And even this year, I feel kind of guilty about that. Plus 3 referendums, of course, sucked a lot of their time. So the poll workers are paid, an hourly amount, I believe, and that happens. So those folks are compensated, but the registrars really aren't.
And most towns in the area, the registrars are paid by the hour that they work.
Is that true?
They work, yes. Ashford pays by the hours that they work, and it's very unfair to them to all of a sudden add 14 days before an election with no additional support, I mean, financial. And there's gotta be some way we can, even if we still made it a stipend, but, you know, increase that, so at least cover more of that time.
Yeah, I just think it's I don't know what the answers are gonna be or how it's gonna iron out. I'm just saying, I think that we should be mindful. Those are the elements I'm seeing. Are there any others that you guys see that you've kind of been, you have another one? Okay, well.
There is talk of the next legislative session, some serious discussion about changing the schedule for the early voting. A lot of small towns are talking to their reps saying that it's an untenable situation.
Yeah.
There are small towns
Yeah.
that spend $4,000 to keep the polls open for 14 days and had 4 votes.
Right.
So $1,100 a vote. It was like $4,400 to keep it open, so it was $1,100 per vote. And that was more than the entire annual budget for that town for their registrars or for their poll workers, whatever it was. That's just the basic idea of it. So there's a lot of discussion that it is a tough hill to climb for small towns. And that maybe the legislature, in their wisdom, could shorten up early voting a little bit and reduce that. So maybe this spring session we'll learn something about that.
Donna, do you have anything to add to that? So any issues that you see popping up, feel free to let us know and put it on the table. Okay, is it okay if we move on to hearing something about the strategic plan? That's also something that I don't think anyone had in their packets, because that was an executive summary was sent out before I don't know if it's as long as it started out about a 75-page document, the strategic plan. I don't know if it's been edited down some, but is Mike D'Amato here?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt Clark was the one who worked on this with him. And since Matt Clark is not with us because of the election, there's nobody here to do a presentation.
Well, Matt's still on EDC though, he's still the chair of that.
Okay, yeah,
He
he did not want to come in and do this. You know, the one thing I would suggest is that you might get together with Mike D'Amato and see what progress they made on it and whatnot, and see what you would like to see as far as what you're thinking of.
I have that draft on my desk right now. It was on my list of things to read today until a couple more emergencies happened, something about windows on the old town hall.
You mean
Yes,
the executive summary part, yeah.
Yes, I intend to get into that over the next few days, so I'll see if we can, and I'll check in with Matt. Matt and I have already had discussion about him, you know, seeing if he wanted to continue on with spearheading this project.
Okay.
Staying with EDC, so I'll have more conversation with Matt and see where he is on that, and if he wants to be the one to take it forward, or we'll figure something out.
Okay.
It's a critical piece.
Anything else anything on the agenda here before we go to,
One thing, the strategic plan, that's the whole thing that they worked with a consultant on. We were given this in zoning, so. Okay, all right.
yeah, so you guys have seen it, you could actually talk about it, you could talk among yourselves.
Yeah, Bill and I did the presentation.
You're gonna wait for that? Okay, you coward. All right. Okay.
We got a truck
so-
wash to deal with, so.
Yeah.
You should be kind to your coach here.
So, present to speak. Is there anyone in the room or out of the room who would like to speak? Give them a second to figure out where the little raising of the hand is if they want. Okay. Hearing none. Does anyone want to say anything under good and welfare? I would like to say thanks, Bruce, and I'm glad you're still on the board, and you know, we'll go forward and do some business together, I hope.
Thank you for being as gracious as you were the past couple of years.
I have a couple of people to thank, Melissa Miller and Britt Rohauser.
Yeah, they were great,
Thanks for your
weren't they?
contributions to the Board of Finance.
Well done.
And Jeff,
Jeff, definitely. We
You
kind
already-
of
you already-
gushed over Jeff on his
Gosh,
last
oh,
I
meeting.
know.
It's not even like a Board of Finance meeting without him here. He'll be back in 2
Who's
years.
gonna vote against the fire hydrants?
You still need to have the curmudgeon that says, no.
Somebody's gonna have to step up on that.
This is a racket.
Imagine who's younger than a lot of us.
I know.
He'll be back in 2
I
years.
always call him the young curmudgeon. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, somebody's got a floating hand.
Do you see a hand?
Well, I think it was a thumbs up that floated across.
Oh, it's a thumbs up.
I haven't seen that before.
Melissa, would you
Yeah,
like
there
to
are-
say
there are
anything?
reactions you can do, and like the
Yeah.
clapping hands can fly through the screen.
Wow.
The cool kids know. how to
Kinds
do
of
it.
little
I guess
gadget,
that's-
yeah.
I know. Wow.
It could have been a hallucination.
It could have been.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
true.
Okay, all in favor
Yes.
All right.
Aye.
Who was your second?
for the motion to
Jason,
adjourn?
Motion, Jason motion.
Who would like to be the second?
I'll
I
say-
couldn't figure out how to unmute, sorry.
There you are. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you for the shout out.
You're welcome.
That was enough.
Sorry. Have a good night.
No, it's okay.
Gonna vote it.
I don't think we need to.
Actually, you don't even need
You
a
don't
motion
need
to
it.
adjourn.
Yeah.
Probably.